Good morning, everyone. This is Uchain Joku, Sneaker Principal, and I want to talk to you about a realization that I had, at least that I came to over the course of the first semester of the school year. This is we're now in January 2022, which means that we're coming close to the end of the first half of the school year here in New York City, and in my school in particular. I came into the year hyper focused on really supporting my students and making sure that they were getting exactly what they needed. And what do I mean by what they needed? The time span that was spent in remote learning, I'm grateful for it because in the midst of a pandemic and having to not be on campus or at least be in a school building for as long as we were, the fact that we had the technology to be able to connect with students, it was incredible, is incredible, because maybe just 10, 15, 20 years earlier, that wouldn't have been the case. There would have been something they would have to figure out, specifically when I was in high school or in school, period. The thought of being able to sit in my home, log on to a machine, and to be able to see, hear, and speak to someone else in another space, and especially the see part, because you can jump on a telephone. You could do, you were still able to do, like, in a very, very rudimentary way, connect other people onto a call. So you could have like two or three people on a phone call, there are three or more people on a phone call. But however, that was still very, very, very archaic compared to what we can do today. So being in a space that you can actually just click a button, log on, and see everyone else, and be with your classmates is something that I'm so grateful for. And just to speak to the power of technology. But coming back, I knew that there was going to be a gap because neither myself or any of the teachers that I know were trained on how to maximize that space. We were literally learning on the job. We were figuring it out as we went. And during that time span, we did the best that we could. I taught three classes during last school year remotely, and during that time, I learned how hard it is to really engage another person that's not in your own same space, especially when that's all you know. That's the only way you know how to do it, to be able to connect with people face to face in the same space, in the same classroom. And coupled with all the devastation that was going on with health and then the social unrest and then being quarantined and being not being able to move as freely as you've been used to. And I can only imagine what it was for like young people, for children, to not have access to social spaces and be able to socialize with your friends and play, and only be relegated to what you can do on your device, your phone or your iPad or your laptop or whatever device you have. You know that had to have had a incredible impact on the minds and the total just sense of well-being of our children, because I know it had an incredible impact on the adults. So coming back into the school year, I thought to myself, I have to find a way to make sure that we are making up for all that lost time, instructionally, especially instructionally. But at the end of the day, to my understanding, the instructional and academic expectations for our students to graduate did not change. Yes, there were some allowances made for kids to catch up or to make up for work that they might have lost track of during the remote year. But coming back into this school year, being in person, I thought to myself, okay, we got to put this work in. So I structured the school year around maximizing time to make sure our students were getting what they needed. But I have to tell you something. I don't know how many other school leaders educators, parents had the same mindset that I had. And in doing that, I made a lot of decisions that at face value made sense. However, the one thing that I did not do, and maybe I wasn't able to do because of the way things were structured, is get student input during the planning phase for the school year. Let's be honest here, we don't really get student input. We just have a system that we put into play, right? We know the number of periods that we need to have, the core content courses, if there's allowances for electives. We know what areas that students struggle in, whether it's math and science or social studies English, and how to prioritize and make sure that we're hitting those key standards and all those things, and allowing for time and space. And we do these things automatically. We don't think about the end product, the end user, and the potential end product. And who's the end user? It's our students. End product is their success, the academic achievement. But over the course of the past couple of weeks, December into now, a lot of students have been coming to me, asking me questions. Why do we have this? Why is this done this way? How come we can't have this? And none of it is unreasonable. Everything they're asking of me has to do with the fact that they want to do better. They know something was missing. But however, the way that I moved, and I think a lot of school leaders moved, was based on getting back to normal. And the reality is there is no getting back to normal or getting back to the past. I heard somewhere that what happened over the course of the pandemic, technologically speaking, was a 5-year jump into the future. The pandemic forced us to move 5 years faster as far as technology and science bridging and filling the gaps in for us being quarantined. But we, in the way we think, didn't. And I have students who are asking for more work, for more hands-on spaces, for more instruction that is literally tied in to potential jobs and careers now. They want to have a better understanding of the world. They want to be able to function in it. They're in their minds thinking whether or not I go to college or not go to college. I want to make sure that I have something that's tangible that I can cash in the real world when I graduate from high school. And this is very different. But before, it was kind of like you sit there and just do what you're told to do. But this generation is saying, no, we have an idea of what we want to do as well. Are you willing to listen to us? Can we have that middle ground to connect on so that you're not wasting your time and we're not wasting our time. And at the end, you're getting what you require, but we're getting what we need. It's funny, people talk about pandemic babies, but I would say the pandemic did something different to our older babies. It made them not babies anymore. It made them thinking, rationalizing, human beings with high expectancies for themselves. But we cannot allow the fact that they're teenagers or middle schoolers, in some cases, elementary school students. We cannot allow their age and their position in society right now to blind us to the wisdom that they're tapping into, or at least they've been forced to tap into because of the pandemic. So I'm listening to my students. I'm giving them space. I'm creating space for them to sit with me and speak with me, to identify their mouthpieces, those who will represent them and say, this is what we want. And I am not going to, but I am creating those opportunities, and I'm listening, and I'm actually applying, because a lot of the things that's been said to me thus far make absolute sense. But it's required me to set aside my ego as the adult in the room to say, how do I provide for the needs of my constituents, of my community, of my stakeholders, of my main customers, my students? Well, I just want to share that with you this morning. Think about this and do me a favor. If this is something that you're dealing with too, or you're coming across, please share in the comments, because I definitely want to tap into the minds and thoughts of other leaders and educators in this space, and parents as well. If you're students and you come across this, you too. All right, with that being said, be well.